Oh, that's me. Don't worry about that little gap there. That's my fault. Okay, but so that's high school graduation rates. Here's college graduation rates. Again, the darker the color, the darker the color, the higher the college graduation rate. And this is not what's the percentage of UC Berkeley that graduates, but what's the percentage of 25 plus year olds living in California right now who have a college degree. And so here's California, Oregon, Washington, Montana. In this category, here's which one is this? This would be Utah. This is why I mentioned this is Colorado. I always have to. I can never just pick out Colorado. I got to do the other two first. Minnesota, the Northeast, New England. So people go except for Rhode Island. I don't know if you can see right where my thing is there. Rhode Island's a little bit lighter than anything else. New York, New Jersey, Virginia, and so on. Low college graduation rates down here. Ooh. I have a trip planned in June. In the summer, I teach high school teachers economic history. So I work with economics teachers and history teachers and teach them economic history in the summer. So I'm doing one of these trips to Birmingham, Alabama in June. Yeah, I'm going to go teach high school teachers in Birmingham, Alabama economic history. And the topics they've assigned me are emancipation, immigration, and something innocuous. I will drink heavily on the plane on the way home. All right, so what did I do? I thought I'd see if I could replicate Golden and Katz's analysis using the 2010 high school graduation rates. Now, the numbers that are on the slide are a little different than the numbers in the handout that I gave you on Tuesday. They are in the handout that's online. So if you downloaded the handout, I re-uploaded the handout after Tuesday because I redid the analysis. So if you download a clean one, you'll get the same numbers. So what did I do? So this starts, and this part looks at the ages 25 plus. So this is looking at what share of the population ages 25 plus in each state had a high school diploma as of 2010. I had to cut off part of the chart to get it in here. And the first thing I did was tried to follow Golden and Katz, and so the first two columns, I broke the population by the share of the population that's black, the share that's Hispanic, the share that's Asian, and then to capture that opportunity cost idea, what I have down here is the minimum wage times 1,000 divided by the state median annual income. So what does that mean? States can have their own minimum wage that is different than the federal minimum wage. So the federal minimum wage right now is $7.25 an hour, but states can have a minimum wage that is something different than that. They can have one that's lower for particular categories, and they can have one that's obviously higher. California has a minimum wage that's higher. So the first thing I did was I downloaded the data on the minimum wage by state to see what the differences are in minimum wage. But some of those differences in minimum wage might just capture the fact that it's a heck of a lot more expensive to live in some place like California or New York than it is to live in Montana or Idaho. And so the second thing I did was I took that minimum wage and multiplied it by 1,000, because if you work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a year, that's 1,000. And then I divided that by the median income for that state. So that you're getting, essentially here is what you're getting is what's the wage that a minimum wage worker would earn relative to the median wage for the state. So if a minimum wage job gets you about where the rest of the state is, that's going to be a ratio that's pretty close to 1. If a minimum wage job is a very poor job relative to what the rest of the state is doing, that ratio is going to be pretty low. Oh. 50 times 40 is 2,000. Yes, it should be 2,000. So it's close. Yeah, you're right. 50 times 40. 50 times 40 is 2,000? Yeah, because 5 times 4. Okay, well, just take those numbers and divide them all by 2, and the statistical significance would be the same. Yeah. That was stupid. I'm not sure how I got 50 times 40 is 1,000, but I did, because I was doing it in my head. So that's the first column. And then the second column, also in the Golden and Katz article, they tried to look at distribution. And the way they looked at distribution, remember, was by looking at the share of the population that owned a car, right? So they looked at car registrations, and they figured the greater the share of the population that owned a car, the more evenly distributed things were in that state. Now we actually have Gini coefficients by state. And so I downloaded the data on the Gini coefficient by state. This is the Gini for income inequality. And what I noticed when I started to play with this was that the Gini coefficient by state is very highly correlated with what percentage of the population is black. So I had a lot of multicollinearity between the Gini coefficient, that's a term you don't have to know if you're not an econometric, a lot of multicollinearity between the Gini coefficient and the share of the population that's black. And so what I did for the Gini coefficient variable was I said, okay, if I only looked at how do I want to say this? If I calculate what's the predicted Gini coefficient for the state given the share of the population that's black, and then I'm going to take that prediction and I'm going to subtract it from the actual share of the population that's black, so I get the residual. So it's measuring, is this state much more unequal than you would predict given the share of the population that's black, or is it much less unequal and therefore more equal than you would predict given the share of the population that's black? So that's what the Gini coefficient residual is capturing. What do we get? When we look at the population 25 and over, first two columns, black, Hispanic, and Asian, only the share of the population that's black has statistical significance. The greater the share of the population that's black, the lower the high school graduation, the lower the share of the population that's graduated from high school. I need to be careful. These are not what share of people who are in high school are graduating. This is what share of the population 25 and over has graduated from high school. The wages as a measure of opportunity cost. Bingo. So the higher the minimum wage is relative to the state's income, the lower the graduation, the lower the share of the population that has graduated from high school. So if getting a minimum wage job is a relatively good job in your state, because it's pretty close to the median income in your state, then you're more likely to drop out of high school and go straight into the labor force. Adding in the variable on the Gini coefficient also matters. So the more, I can make sure I do this right, the more unequal income is distributed in the state, the lower the high school graduation rate. That's consistent, I can't prove it, but it's consistent with the Golden and Katz argument having to do with high school funding, the willingness of people to pay for high school, to pay for the funding of high school, depending upon the social cohesion and the other factors that we looked at in that Golden and Katz article. In the third and fourth columns, instead of breaking the population by black, Hispanic, and Asian, I broke it by black on the one hand and foreign-born on the other. And then the share foreign-born picks up and has, again, statistically significant results. The higher the share of the population in a state that's foreign-born, the lower the share of adults 25 and over that have a high school degree. That's probably connected to the Feliciano article that we talked about on Tuesday. That the likelihood of having a high school diploma, if you migrate here as an adult, is going to be dependent in part upon what's the likelihood in the sending country of people actually finishing high school. Minimum wage still matters, and Gini coefficient still matters. Then I thought, this is looking at the population 25 plus, and so I've got a lot of legacy here, right? I can have people here who are 90 years old, and so I'm really capturing what explains today decisions that people made many, many moons ago. And so I looked instead at the population ages 25 to 34, which I figured out how to download. We talked about this after class. This is a piece that's not in the handout from Tuesday, because I only figured out yesterday how to download this data. It's online, so you can get this table online. So then I broke it and I looked at the population 25 to 34 to see whether or not the same variables would explain the decisions on the part of the population 25 to 34. I'm only showing you here the results that include both the relative income part, the minimum wage relative to the annual wage, and the degree of inequality in the state. What I found very interesting was I was able to split this data by male and female. So I was able to look to see whether or not the share of men ages 25 to 34 who had a high school diploma was determined by different factors or to a different degree than the same case for women. You can capture the extent to which these factors matter, this is one of the few times when you get to look at the size of the coefficients. So usually when we talked about these things, I said look at the sign and the statistical significance. Right now you get to look at the size of the coefficients as well. And so you still get a statistically significant effect on the percentage of the population that's black. We still get no statistical significance on the share of the population Hispanic or the share of the population Asian. We do get statistical significance on the share of the population that's foreign-born. The relative wage effect is there. It's weakly significant. So 1.83 makes it significant at the 90% level. If I was doing stars, I get 1 star for that one. 1.62 for a T-stat, I don't remember, I didn't write it down, was like 12, because it was like 88% statistical significance. It's only 50 data points, so it's hard to get tightly defined minimum wages, not minimum wages, standard errors. The degree of inequality comes in significantly when I look at Hispanic and Asian, but does not come in significantly when instead I'm using the share of the population foreign-born. I can't explain that, but maybe somebody else can. And I did the same thing where it's the Gini coefficient residual. So I said, what would the Gini coefficient be for each state given the share of the population black and the share of the population, say, foreign-born, and then what's the difference between the prediction and the actual. So anyway, comparing across rows, what I found interesting was let's do apples to apples. So compare those two numbers. Is that the wage effect is larger for men than it is for women. So the influence of being able to get a job without a high school diploma that has an income that's not too terribly far removed from the annual income, the average annual income in the state, that opportunity cost argument about people stay in school or they leave school depending on what jobs they can get if they leave school is more relevant for men than it is for women. Has a bigger effect for men than it does for women. So people who've been in high school sometime in the last 4 years, the girls who dropped out of high school, were they dropping out of high school to get jobs? Why were they dropping out of high school? Because they were pregnant. Yeah. And so you get a larger economic story for the men than you do for the women. It's consistent with the observation that the girls are more likely to drop out of high school because they're pregnant and not because they're dropping out of high school to get a job to help support the family. Okay. All right. What do high school dropouts do? Well, these days, 2010, of course, we're still in the recovery phase, but what are people who are, this is comparing people who graduated from high school and people who've dropped out of high school. So people who dropped out of high school are much more likely to be not in the labor force. That could be because they are not able to find work and are not doing any, what do I want to say? Or let me just finish that sentence differently. It could be because they're not able to find work but want to find work, discouraged workers, or it could be because they are raising families. Or other things. But they're more likely than high school grads to be dropped out of the labor force. If you're a high school dropout, you're more likely to be unemployed, and if you are a high school grad, you're more likely to be employed. The numbers for 2010 reflect the pain of the recovery and the slowness of the recovery from 2007 to 2009. So you can see the same pattern of the difference between high school grads and high school dropouts if you look rows up. Yeah. All right. And then the last picture. Return to education. There it is again. We looked at the first two columns a few minutes ago when it was relevant to talk about the differences by gender. Do we also see differences by race? Yes. Within each column, so looking down any particular column, there is a definite return to education. The more education people have, the higher their average income. That's why we like that picture here. It's not the only reason. I have so many reasons why I like the picture here. Looking across the rows, there are differences across the rows in average earnings. Those differences across the rows in average earnings reflect the differences across the rows earlier in educational attainment. That's not the entire explanation. I'm not suggesting that the only explanation for differences by race and ethnicity in income is due to differences in race and ethnicity of education, but it is one of the big parts of it. So differences in educational attainment carry through to differences in income. Wait, I have to undo that sentence altogether because this is all controlling for educational attainment. So back that out. Scratch that last sentence. Why there are these differences within educational attainment categories still having differences by race is a topic we take up next spring in Econ of Discrimination Seminar, Econ 154, for which you have to have completed econometrics in order to take it. So that's all I got. All right. That's it. That's the end of material. So, oh, I forgot. I was going to say about the Swartz article. So I didn't talk about the last article in the Reader, and the reason is that the last article, the one by Catherine Swartz in the Reader, which is her presidential address to the American Public Policy and Management Association, I thought that was a great article to end the Reader with because it not only illustrates the use of historical analogy, but it also is an article that now I hope you can read in a way you couldn't have when we started in January and know what in the dickens she's talking about. So you look at the third page and you're going to see that graph of land grants and how they allocated land grants to the railroads, and you don't even have to read it because you'll see that checkerboard and you'll say, she's not playing chess in this article, she's talking about railroad land grants. Thank you. And there's reference to the work by Golden and Katz that we've read about high school determinants of high school and college graduation rates and so on. So it's there. We want you to read it. There may well be a question about it on the final, that is to say. But I didn't take time to talk about it explicitly because it's basically what we've been talking about all semester. I have a wrapping up exercise that we're going to do, and before I reveal the exercise, everybody gets a 3x5 card. If you write, you can write your name on it if you want. We're going to collect them, and the name part is optional. So you guys can. They're going to spread these around. I'll show you in just a minute. What's this? What's she doing? All right. So there should be plenty, so you can just give them the rows and. Oh my goodness! Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Sure. You're not going to stay for our exercise? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. Bye-bye. Bye. That's sweet. Okay, so what we want you to do with your 3x5 card is you're going to take the 3x5 card, and on one side I want you to write at the top, aha moment. A moment, aha, oh, a wow, oh, golly, gee, aha moment. On the other side at the top, write big idea. And then on the side where it says aha moment, I want you to write down if you had one. You may not have had one, but if you had a moment during the semester that was one of those ahas, when something fell into place, when you learned something you'd never known before, when you had one of those. Well, no, how else do we define aha moments? Help me out here. Eureka moments. Okay, fine. On the other side, I want you to write out what you think is a big idea, or what your favorite big idea of the course is. Doesn't have to be too extensive. I want you to take forever and ever to do this part. And I'm going to have you, those things, once you do those, you're going to turn those in. And then we'll do the group work. Because I don't want you to edit them once you start talking to your groups. Got the idea? So a favorite big idea, or what you think is one of the big ideas, not all, just a big idea of the course. And if there was any, cool. Could have been from the music, who knows? Look, I have something in my office. I love water things like that. This will make my office hours so chill, because now I'm going to have a little water thing for office hours. It'll be awesome. This will be cool. It's a little water fountain. So I can put it in the office, and I can have the waterfall, and then you'll come to office hours, don't have to pee. No. You can put your name on it if you want. You don't have to put your name on it. And they won't see them with names. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. We can see them right now. That's true. I don't know handwriting.
Yeah, we'll give Professor Ollie a taste of what some of the GFI.
Oh, I've read handwriting. Not to worry. I've done handwriting. Oh, I should bring my little clicker up here so I can move on with my clicker. God.
You asked them to send some next.
Yeah, that's very smart. We should ask them to send the cards to the end of the aisle so we can collect them. That's very smart. Very smart. That's much smarter than me. Okay. Ooh, seriously, it is definitely like 10 degrees warmer up here than it is down there. This is awful. Yeah, than it is where I am? Yeah, heat rises. You wish. Okay. Thank you. Still thinking? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Still writing? Thank you. Where else? Thank you. Cool. Thank you. Is that it? Do we have them? Oh, there's one here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is in your usual groups. You guys by now know what your usual groups are. I mean, I'll do it again if you need me to, but you know your usual groups. So I want, not the aha part. The aha part is we're not going to do that part. I'm going to put the thing up so that we have the whole board, and I want you in your group to talk about what you think was one of the, or what is your group's favorite big idea from the course, and then you're going to write it on the board. Not a lot, don't write a paragraph on the board, right? We want like short phrases or words on the board. Phrases, you want phrases, that's what we want, phrases. And if you get down to the board and somebody else has already written your idea, you can, if it's exactly the same as the way you would have written it, you can just write ditto, which means, yeah, that's exactly what I would have said. Or you can edit it. So think of it like a wiki. The board's going to be a wiki. All right, modern, I know what a wiki is. All right, you got the idea? Each group is going to wind up at some point coming down to the board. Anywhere.
Going hard? Going hard? Yeah. That was the greatest email I've ever seen. I couldn't stop laughing.
That's a tradition. Usually it's Max or George.
We should go for squelch or something, right? Oh, etc.
Did everybody get a chance to go up to the board? We have all the ideas? All right. So here's my thought. My thought is that are there some of these that you want to